Hey parents, I'm Dr. Devin, and I want to talk about the root cause and oftentimes the most overlooked cause of so many kids' health challenges. And that can be a difficult birth process or delivery. So today I specifically want to talk about C-section. But to be honest, in our office, when we look at pediatric cases, the number one cause of kids' struggles later in life can often be traced back to a difficult birth, whether it be a C-section, whether it be a manual, just a tough, long birth that ended with a vacuum extraction, forceps. A difficult delivery matters so much. And so today I actually want to talk about C-section complications and really use an example of two little twins. No two kids tell the story of how long lasting the effects of C-section deliveries can be than two beautiful fraternal twins named Jordan and Teo. For Jordan's birth, everything went according to plan. At 36 and a half weeks, Jordan was head down, first in line, and born vaginally. But for Teo, things were different. Just before it was his turn, Teo flipped back up into a breech position. And after trying multiple maneuvers to get him back head down, he had to be delivered via a relatively quick emergent C-section. From that point forward, everything you'll learn about the science and reality of long-term C-section complications in kids became abundantly clear tracking the first 12 months of these two boys' health. Jordan ate better. He calmed and relaxed much more quickly. He slept better and was generally just a very easy baby. Teo, on the other hand, had all sorts of difficulties with digestion, sleeping, soothing, and developing optimally. Teo was always smaller, tenser, more stressed, and struggled to gain weight as easily. He also had multiple inflammatory reactions, ear infections, and other health struggles early and often. At around 6 months old, Teo began suffering from infantile spasms. These are some of the worst things a parent can ever watch their kids go through. After 24 hours in the hospital and multiple drugs and injections given to Teo, he still did not respond. He continued crying uncontrollably and had spasms until he received a precise, neurologically focused chiropractic adjustment to release his built up tension and calm his entire central nervous system. It was remarkable to see the instant changes in Teo after that adjustment. His entire body relaxed. He stopped crying. He came out of the spasms. Teo continued to get daily adjustments for the next 2 weeks, and he stayed at a 3 times per week intensive pediatric care schedule for the next many months. In time, he healed entirely from the C-section complications and the neurological injuries that ensued. Teo and Jordan had the same genetics, diet, and environment in every way. So essentially, every other variable was controlled for these two, meaning the only different thing is that Teo was born via C-section and Jordan wasn't. The physical trauma and the neurological tension that C-section deliveries can cause is exactly what Teo was left with. That traumatic start to life left his central nervous system stuck in this perpetual state of what's known as subluxation and dysautonomia, both of which will be explained in detail below and linked to C-section complications. The most traditional doctors, they're going to blame genetics for a child's struggles. In turn, natural or holistic health websites or practitioners would blame toxins, dairy, gluten, and so forth. But with both of those being truly 100% identical in Jordan and Teo's story, it's clear to see how profound of an impact C-section deliveries can have on a child's life months to even years later. There is certainly a noticeable difference in babies born via C-section versus vaginal delivery. In terms of most common early medical complications, things like breathing difficulties, low APGAR scores, and digestive distress are often seen early on in infants born via cesarean. And what we want to focus on in this video is not just the short term, the medically documented effects of C-section deliveries on kids, but also the long term effects as well. The first challenge that is almost an absolute, almost always overlooked and missed with C-section deliveries is the onset of subluxation in infants' cranial, so their head, their skull, and the upper neck regions. These are the most easily injured and altered areas for infants born via C-section simply because at such a young age, they cannot protect those precious muscles, nerves, and joints that protect their brainstem and spinal cord from injury. The amount of force placed on a child's skull, neck, and brainstem during a C-section delivery is immense. It's far more physical and the pressure far more than ever be allowed after the birth process. So while it may be life-saving at the moment, yeah, life-saving, it can also be life-altering from there on going forward. We all know to protect the neck and hold the head for brand new babies and infants, but we've made it completely normal and okay to use the head and neck as physical leverage, twisting, torquing, and pulling during the C-section birth process. In addition to the upper cervical and brainstem trauma that can come from C-section deliveries, here are other long-term complications each parent deserves to know about, like digestive distress, colic, constipation, eczema, that comes from missing out on that optimal activation of the thoracic spine from contractions and neuromuscular system that controls motility, absorption, assimilation, and so forth for infants and children. It can create respiratory and immune compromise, and it can also come not only from the lack of motility or movement through the entire ENT system, the lymphatic system in the lungs, but also from the disruption of the microbiome in the vagus nerve, leading to these long-term complications. Now, what I want to show you next is one of the scans that we use in our office to measure this. Now, this is an image of an 8-year-old. So this isn't of a baby. This is an 8-year-old that was born via C-section. And they struggled with colic. They struggled with ear infections. But now they struggle a lot with ADHD, with anxiety, and some learning disabilities in school. Now, when we look at this, I have this view in front of you. This is a measurement of what we call an EMG. This looks at stress in the entire back and nervous system, but more specifically, when we zoom in right here, this upper cervical region right below the brainstem, right here at C1 to C7. The upper and lower neck is holding a lot more tension and stress on either side. Now, they can be caused by poor posture, sitting at a desk too long. And those are commonly blamed for that today. And those are real problems. So don't ever discount those, but they literally can be traced all the way back from that injury and trauma within the nervous system early on. If you get a rough start via the birth process, everything else often compounds on top of that. And that's why we see that not only stress and strain up top here in the upper nervous system, but we see the body start to get tired from poor posture or tone lower on in the core. Because for those 8+ years for this kiddo, they've struggled with more tension and more stress in that upper cervical or that upper neck region. Now, why that can be so important for kids is because this nervous system, this up top area that's really high up in the neck, is the air traffic control. Now, that air traffic control system modulates and controls every other vital system in the body, from the gut to the immune system, to the motor system, the hormones, digestion, so much more. Did I mention emotions with kids? That's a key one too. So when you've noticed things and you've, kind of tried everything down the motor route where kids might be a little bit more uncoordinated, they might struggle with plateauing with OT, PT, speech therapy, and things like that. They have gut or digestive issues, food intolerances, or any respiration or immune function challenge. We have to look back at the birth process. A C section, a difficult birth, it can matter so much to their health moving forward simply because of the stress put on the nervous system. And as a pediatric chiropractor, when we look back at the cause, that's the number one thing that we look at to say, okay, what happened to the nervous system at the start of life? And how then do we look at the history of everything else going forward? And so much stress in our kids today can be traced back to difficult births. In this example of Jordan and Teo couldn't have been, more contrasting in that it could have been a better example to use because of where Teo's at now. Teo's caught up. Teo and Jordan are normal twins and they're fighting for the pecking order with everything that they do. And they are perfectly healthy kiddos because that birth stress and that birth trauma got unwound. So if you look back at your child's health history and you think that it might be somewhat related to birth, give us a call. Reach out to us, direct message us. We would love to dig in. We would love to do these tests and see what we can find to see if that birth stress was a big catalyst to where they're at now and how, if we can unwind that, we can help them with so many of their health challenges. And I hope this video finds you well. Please share it if you think this is maybe one of those missing links in your child's case history. That's what we commonly find in our office. Actually, it's what parents have tried. It's when parents have tried everything. They just haven't looked back all the way to that birth process. And that's okay. It's just not commonly looked at in the health professions. But that's what we do. We look at it through that different lens so that we can help so many kids. So I hope this finds you well. God bless you well, and see you soon.